Hopefully she'll be right over.
How you doing?
There you are. All right. Welcome, everyone. We are going to I'll just start this meeting by going into our closed session meeting. We'll close out of this link at that point, right, Jill? We'll close out of this link and then reopen that link number 1 that I emailed you earlier.
Yes, this is going to continue to run on YouTube with a message that says we're in closed session.
All right, so I'll take a motion to go into closed session, please.
We have to call it to order first.
I did call it to order. I'll call it to order again. We'll call this meeting Tuesday, December 8th meeting to order.
I have to do a roll call, Tim.
Okay.
Mr. Craig.
Here.
Mr. Estheimer.
Here.
Mr. Freitas.
Here.
Mr. Green.
Here.
Mr. Lamas.
Here.
Dr. Pomponio.
Here.
Mr. Sage.
Here.
All right, thank you.
Mr. President,
Mr. Craig.
make a motion that we go into closed session for purposes of discussing our attorney-client privilege communication.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Support.
Supported by Dr. Pomponio.
Support.
Thank you. All those in favor, we'll do a roll call vote now, please.
Mr. Sage.
Yes.
Dr. Pomponio.
Yes.
Mr. Lamas.
Yes.
Mr. Green.
Yes.
Mr. Freitas.
Yes.
Mr. Estheimer.
Yes.
Mr. Sage. Sorry, Mr. Craig.
Yes.
All right. Please follow the link I provided with you earlier and close out of this link, and then we'll come back to this in just a second. I'll see you on the other side.
Thank you.
You beat me to it. Do have my Santa hat, but we can't beat the light up twins. Same jacket, same everything. Well, Jill, in 6 minutes, it's your first meeting. The last meeting.
This could be recorded, so I have to be appropriate. Do you think I should take my,
I'm wearing a reindeer sweater with a nose. I think everything is fine. In this crazy year, I think anything goes. So, Jill, if by some chance something goes haywire with something that we're going to do, you can give me sharing the screen privileges for a minute, right, if I need it?
you actually don't need privileges, you just hit present now at the bottom.
Oh, you're a good person.
Nobody told me I needed to be vested today. Shoot.
Obviously, Tim and Neil shop at the same place.
I love the lights.
Can't buy these anymore. These things sold out at Sam's Club so fast.
I bought
Mine's from
some
1973.
beardaments. So I bought some. They light up. They're little ornaments, but they're also light up ornaments for my husband. We did that for our Christmas picture this year. That was funny.
Looks like we have everyone but Mr. Sage, yeah? I mean, Mr. Craig. All right, it is 7 o'clock. We are back. We have already called our meeting to order previously, so we will go to item B, our Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Southgate's mission statement is learning for life. Our vision statement, Southgate Schools, the best choice for students and parents. Brings us to item D, revision to approval of agenda.
Mr. President,
Mr. Green.
I'd like to make a motion to revise the agenda, eliminating item action 4.
Thank you. You have support?
Support.
Support by Mr. Sage. All right, any questions or comments? All right, will you please roll call vote that, Ms. Grahowski?
Mr. Freitas,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Lamos,
Yes.
Dr. Pomponio,
Yes.
Mr. Sage,
Yes.
Mr. Craig,
Yes.
Mr. Esthammer.
Yes. Thank you. Motion carries. We have an agenda now, and we are going to go now to item E, citizens' comments. Ms. Pastor has one for us.
This is from Laura Vedez. It says, why can't the public be given Zoom passwords to interact with board meetings?
All right, thank you, Ms. Pastor. And let's go on to item F, presentations. And the first one, number one, is retirement presentation. This is for Ms. Pastor. Tonight is the last board member, the last board meeting for someone on our team. Yes, tonight is our superintendent's last meeting with us, so she enters into retirement at the end of this month. Working with Ms. Pastor these past 4 years in a role as curriculum director and superintendent has been a wonderful experience for me. Jill has a great sense of humor. She's an extremely hard worker with an amazing work ethic. She not only has rounded out this team of 8 these past few years, but has become a teacher and a mom to the entire district. Ms. Pastor could always be seen at events cheering on our Titans and was the first member of staff our incoming kindergartners met as she welcomed them with a book and a handwritten note. In fact, she was known to many of us for her handwritten notes and thoughtful gifts. We're sad to see her go, but happy to see her begin this journey into retirement. In the past, we would take her across the street after our meeting and send her away with some holiday cheer, but for tonight, this will have to do. We do owe you one, Jill. You'll be a Titan for life. Mr. Green?
Thank you, Mr. President. Tough act to follow. They were very well said. And so, Joe, I can't look at you because I see you starting to cry and you're going to make me cry. So that's going to be difficult. I mean, what can you say? First of all, it's difficult trying to put something together virtually and trying to hide it from her, and because in everything. But I think we did a pretty good job, team. I think we did a pretty good job. So we have an extra accomplice in here also. I do not and have not had the pleasure of knowing Jill as long as I know Rick and Neil and some other people. I dare say that when she was curriculum director, I knew who she was and respected her work. But the last 2.5 years, obviously, was absolutely amazing. I held the utmost respect for Leslie. and I hold the same amount of respect for Jill. I need the community to know who's watching that this is a lady who spent almost 30 years of her education in one place, 27 and a half years in Southgate. You talk about someone who loves this community, that loves this school district. It's hard to stay in these days with all the movement and change that long in any one place, whether you're in a job, in education, in sports, to be basically a Titan for that long. Probably even before they were Titans, right? There was a split somewhere in there, but to give her dedication as an educator and as a principal and as the curriculum director and as a superintendent and think about how many lives she touched over those years, all those children, all those families that she made a difference. She made a difference, and that's all you can say in this life is that you made a difference. And, our tombstones aren't going to say anything about wealth, right? It's if we made a difference. And Jill definitely made a difference, and I'm proud of what she's done. Jill was here when we were almost in takeover, when many of us on this board first came on, and seen it through from a state takeover to phase one when we started to pull out of it to where we are now. She was part of the bond being passed and the second one being passed. There's just not enough words to say what she has done for this community and this district. You're going to be hard pressed to find someone like her. And I've said this to many board members in the last couple of weeks. A weaker person would have failed as the superintendent of Southgate in the last few years, and she didn't. She took the bulls by the horn with her team, and she let us out of the dark ages, and she's leaving us in a heck of a lot better spot than we were when I met her 5 years ago. That's for sure, and that's a credit to her and the people that surrounded her. And for that, Jill, I got to say that it's going to be hard to see you go, but if you talk to Leslie at all, she'll tell you that I bother her, so I will be bothering you. Honestly, personally, what I'll miss the most is our love for travel. I mean, you and I talk extensively outside of all this other stuff about where we've been, where we're going, where you at this time, almost like for everybody who's old enough to remember, where's Waldo? Where are we going to be? And there's just not enough words to say what kind of a person you are, what kind of love you have for this community, and how sorely you're missed, and what a difference you made. I think that Teresa, I don't know how, it's the magic of Christmas, has a little something for you that we would like you to read.
Oh, she's muted. She's muted.
Are you muted? Are you on? Yep. Okay. So this plaque is to you, Jill Pastor, a Titan for life. Your love, commitment, and dedication to this district and community will never be forgotten. 1993 to 2020. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's awesome. And you think that's it. But au contraire, Miss Pastor, there's more. Would you please open, hopefully I did this right. If I didn't, we're going to do something else. Could you please open your personal email and find an email from Delta, please? Not your school email, your personal email.
Okay.
It would have came this morning, I think.
So I have a gift card that I have to read 72 hours after. Wow. Do you want me to say it out loud, or do you want it to be a secret? That's very generous.
I do think you should. That's up to you, but there's a little note on the bottom also. But however you want to play it is up to you.
So it does say, we appreciate your dedication over the past 27 and a half years in all the different capacities. We all wish you a safe and blessed retirement with Doug. Happy travels when you are able. And it is a $500 gift certificate for Delta Airlines, which I look forward to using when it's safe. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. I'd like to open it up now if any of the board members wish to have any, if they have anything to say.
Mr. President,
Dr. Pomponio.
Jill, in honor of you, this is the first time I've ever worn a Christmas sweater, so I have a Christmas sweater on. Since I met you a long time ago, I've worked with you in many groups and committees throughout the years. It's especially an honor to meet someone that many parents and students love and cherish from your days at Corman. It has been great to see so many graduates over the years remember you and acknowledge your impact on their lives. You have always been a great leader from my perspective. I've learned so much from you as well. I've always liked the way you run meetings. When you say it's over at 6 p.m., it's over at 6 p.m. You appreciate others and their time, but you always give of yours many times without being asked. It's been a pleasure to know you, and I wish you a safe and healthy retirement. Well deserved, a Titan always. Thank you.
Dr. P. Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak at this time? All right. Seeing that, we're going to move on to.
I'm sorry, Tim. 1 second.
Rick, so-
I just wanted to reiterate. Think Corman. And that crazy 3 or 4 years that changed our district. And for Sage and Mr. Freitas from a couple weeks ago when we were at the high school for one of the meetings, you did make a difference. So thank you.
Mr. Sage. You're on mute.
As I was saying, I'm fairly new to this and obviously new to the board. It's been an absolute pleasure getting to know Jill over the past year, and a thankless job, which a lot of times it seems like it is. Your passion and dedication to the Southgate School District, and more importantly to the kids, you care, and it's seen. And I've seen it as a parent before getting on the board, and I can tell you countless parents that have told me the amazing job that you've done. You know, even to me prior to getting on the board. Your leadership will be missed greatly, and wish you the best on your retirement.
Mr. President.
Mr. Craig.
Okay, Jill. So I'm not sure how you let them put this at this point in the meeting. This belongs at the end. So good job letting Andy and Tim do that. But but you know,
that was not me. No.
This belongs at the end of the meeting. She's a wreck already. You're going to make her do this for the rest of the meeting. Come on. So no, Jill, again, it's been said that, you made a difference, and that is noted. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Freitas.
Everyone knows that I'm long-winded and I talk so much at these meetings, but Jill, I just want to say it's been a pleasure. My family thinks of you in the highest regards. My daughters, my wife, my entire family, and what you've given to Southgate and to my family personally. So thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you.
All right. We will gather ourselves here and move on here to
Mr.
Rob.
President. Mr. President.
Go ahead, Mr.
Jill,
Green.
she's got to regroup herself.
Go ahead,
I think we got to wait for the superintendent to come back. There she is. Jill, speech.
No, I just say thank you. I appreciate that you recognize the hard work, and I just appreciate all the kind words. So thank you. It is bittersweet that I am ready to move on. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Rob, you got a tough act to follow. Maybe Mr. Craig was right. We're going to presentation number 2, Anderson Pool Edition presentation by Rob Kukowski.
Yeah, thank you for that. And just real quick, Joe, congratulations. It's been a pleasure the last couple of years working with you. So definitely going to be missed on this bond program and working with you with all the hard work you put into this and seeing it through. So, yeah, definitely congratulations. But onward to presentation for the bigger portion of the project for the bond program that we have, one of the first big projects. We're doing the schematic design update for the pool addition, the natatorium addition, and the weight room renovation with the athletic lobby. So similar to the presentation that we had last week for the renovation work that was going on, this follows similar layout for the natatorium and the weight room. So I will present my screen right now. All right, hopefully you can see the presentation up there. All right, so again, this is the natatorium and weight room schematic design update. We also have Mark McPartland from TMP on with us here today too. If there's any design questions that we have, Mark can jump in and answer any of those that I cannot here today. So today's presentation, we're going to do an overview of the bond and ballot proposal. You'll see that similar start to every presentation that we do for this program. We'll do a schedule update, kind of where we're at and where we're going in the next few months. Look at the schematic design scope of work for the three areas. You got the natatorium addition, the weight room renovation, and the athletic lobby renovation. And then we'll do a budget overview and answer any questions and answers that you may have. So an overview of the bond and ballot proposal. Again, this is just kind of recapping the goals for the bond, the historic facts, the 0 millage rate increase for this bond program. The average age of your buildings is over 61 years old, and the previous bond programs from 1999 and 2015. And then the goals and objectives that were set early on during the initial setup of the bond program are just left here for reminders moving forward with this program. Looking at a schedule update, and again, this is for the natatorium addition and the weight room renovation. The schematic design documents and the schematic design estimate are complete. TMP is working to complete the design development documents. Our goal is to have those done around mid-January. Moving along with the design process. At that time, the bond team will review the documents, hopefully around the end of January, kind of get any feedback, any things we need to incorporate. And at that same time, Granger will be developing a DD estimate by early February for the bond team to review. So again, we're at the schematic design level. We're pretty high level at this point, in the 30-40% documents complete stage. So a lot of assumptions, a lot of unknowns at this point being made, but we are moving through that process right now into DD and continue to refine that as we move along. We will look to have a design development board presentation scheduled for February. And then we'll have TMP final check for construction documents completed by late March, get the final bid documents out for bid by the end of March, bid the project in April, look to bring contract award recommendations to the board in May and June for the project, and then be starting construction next summer. Maybe there's some hope we can start a little bit sooner, but right now be probably early summer, mid-summer before we get started out there. May look to start some work a little bit early if we can, but that's kind of the goal with the target to be substantially complete by August of 22, ready to have that space for use for the school year of 2022. So kind of gives a high level overview of the schedule for the next few months. We look at some of the schematic design scope of work. Just kind of a quick overview. We're looking at a 2-story, 22,700 square foot natatorium addition. Be an 8-lane competition swimming pool. There'll be locker rooms, a meat management office, coach's office, family changing rooms, storage, spectator seating, mechanical and electrical room, and then the pool equipment room will be the main components of the addition. To have a new elevator and stairs to the upper level spectator seating. And then new rooftop HVAC units and dehumidification units for that space. The weight room renovation, We'll be converting the existing 5,300 square foot natatorium to a weight room fitness facility. So take that existing pool that we have, look to infill that, and turn that into a nice large size weight room and fitness facility. New rubber sports flooring, some new windows to open up some lighting into that space, and then we'll have a new rooftop HVAC unit for that space as well. And then the existing athletic lobby, looking to construct an accessible ramp for the new weight room fitness facility, and then have a connection to the new natatorium lobby. So kind of gives a quick high level written scope of what's included. Now we'll look at some drawings and stuff of those spaces. So when we look at the overall site plan of it, you can see here's the existing natatorium that you have now. You got the baseball fields down here, the new tennis courts out this way. So we're looking at coming off the back side of that athletic lobby right now, creating a new natatorium lobby with the new addition being constructed right here. And it'll stop just short of the existing baseball field that's there now. So kind of gives you a quick high level overview of the entire high school and shows where this addition's going and then where the pool renovation for the new weight room is. Diving down a little bit farther, this kind of gives you a quick summary of the zoomed in scope or site work. So right now there is a drive that comes back a little bit further kind of for maintenance vehicles and things that would be needed to service back in that area. So we'll kind of rework that a little bit to fit into the new space that we have. The new natatorium will have some sidewalks, kind of a concrete plaza area, have some sidewalks that come around the building and tie into the backside here, and then sidewalks that tie in over to the tennis courts that we have over to the west. So again, this isn't necessarily the final plan. We're still working through that, but at least gives you some ideas of the spacing that we're kind of looking at for where this addition would fit. Looking at a floor plan for this space. Again, this is the natatorium addition. So starting up here at the top, this is kind of the corner of the existing high school. The athletic lobby is up this way. There's a set of doors that takes you outside right now. That would be our connection point to our new athletic or the new natatorium pool lobby that come down. So you'd come down that way. We'd have a new stair tower to get you up to the second floor for the spectator seating, have an elevator as well to access that space. Come down that lobby. There will be a wet passage hallway that would get you through onto the pool deck out this way, but passing through that, we'll have a janitor's closet, some storage rooms. We'll have a couple family changing rooms in there as well that can be accessed. We have a meat management office and a coach's office right there on that passage coming into the pool. Get out onto the deck. You have the 8-lane pool, the diving boards, basically this entire space. We spent quite a bit of time talking about deck space, looking at some other pools, talking about the needs for the pool as far as meets and competitions that'd like to be held. So we do have pretty good sized decks all the way around this pool to allow for access and additional seating and stuff for teams and competitions. Down on the south side, we have the kind of the mechanical sections of that. So we'd have a pool storage room for some of the equipment, an electrical room, a mechanical room, and then the filtration room. Part of having the addition or this section off of this side of the building is so when that entrance drive comes in, when you're getting deliveries for all your chlorine or chemicals or different materials and equipment, is they have easy access to get them in from these exterior doors directly into these spaces. So you don't have to bring them through the pool deck, across the pool deck into those rooms. So have nice exterior access right into those spaces for your chemicals and deliveries that you'd have. Within that, we have locker rooms on each side of the kind of the wet passage through there. So you'd have a couple showers, couple bathrooms, and lockers set up in there for each of those. So matching locker rooms on each side. And then another set of stairs to access the second floor seating. kind of have this side, we're kind of calling it the community entrance out there that you'll see. So if there's after school activities or anything that comes on, there is another entrance that could come in versus going through either the athletic lobby or the main office entry. We could use this entrance down here. That would be from the drive and stuff that comes back there. So kind of summarizes the first floor overview. We look at the second floor. This is going up to the seating. You got the 2 stair towers that access this space with the elevator. The bleachers are loaded from the back, so any spectators that are coming in are walking behind all of the spectators, and then you'd be walking down to your seat and across. So that was one important point that we looked at going through design, was how spectators would be coming into that space, and it was important to have them coming in from the back, so they're not in front of people trying to look down and see into the pool area. Right now, we got a little over 400 seats, 414 total seats right now in there, plus 6 handicap seats as well in the 7 rows for seating in there. So pretty good amount of seating that we were able to fit in there. And again, this is up on the 2nd level above the locker rooms and the offices and stuff for that area. When we look at the weight room and the athletic lobby, this dashed line kind of shows the pool that's there now. We would look to infill that with a concrete slab, creating 1 level floor or for the new weight room. This is the new passage that would come in. If you're familiar with the high school, this area over there, there's a couple different levels in there, kind of bunch of mid-levels down to locker rooms, up to the pool deck that's there now, that are different from the actual school like floor levels. So what we'd have to do is coming in off the athletic lobby is look to build a ramp that would get you up to this level, this mid-level, and then we'd cut in this new passage that would get you right to the deck that's there now for this new weight room. We'd convert some of the locker rooms that are there now into some weight room storage as well too for that space. So the athletic lobby then would get a little bit of facelift renovation as well, as we're putting this new ramp in. We'd have to relocate some of those display cases and rework that area. And then we have the new portal entry going from those doors into the new pool lobby coming down this way as well too. So this drawing kind of gives you the weight room and the athletic lobby scope of work that we'd be looking at there. These couple drawings just kind of show some cuts through the building if you were to be standing outside and looking into the building. So this one's, as you're standing there looking east, you can see the depth of the pool with the pool tank for the diving well on one end, shallower on the other. And you can see the elevated seating up there for the spectators. You got the doors into the lobbies, the windows for the meet managers' offices, the walkthrough for the wet passage. So this is kind of standing outside, looking into the building. You got your support spaces for your mechanical and everything that's out there right now. So be kind of like if you were standing on the tennis courts looking towards, looking into the building. And then looking the other way, then if you're looking north, you can see a cross section. Here is the seating. This is the walkway behind it where we said we come in off the elevator or up the stairs. You'd be behind all the seating, and then you could go down to your seats. Optimum viewing was a big thing with this amount of deck space there, allowing the fans to have a good angle down to the pool. And then it kind of shows you the cut through the building there. And then the athletic lobby coming down. Looking at from the next year what this addition would look like. So one of the keys was really to add some color and branding to this addition, so it really stood out as your athletic entrance. One of the things as we get to the budget slide and you see some of the difficulties that we're having right now, one of the things we're looking at is how can we do some of this branding in different options. So the initial thought was, maybe all exterior metal wall panels on this section to give this red color. Now, as we're looking at different cost options, maybe this is a red glazed brick tile that stands out for that. So those are some of the things that, we're looking at options of ways to keep the design intent as kind of the team desires, but, come up with different multiple options that ways that it could be constructed. So you can see this is the outfield of the baseball. This would be your new drive-in. You have your mechanical units. You'll have some big mechanical units over top. We're looking at screening those off with a screen wall, so you really don't see those mechanical units up there for the pool area. And this is kind of your new community entrance that could be used there. So a nice hallway with a lot of natural light into that space. Kind of zooming in on that, you can see, or if you can see it through this picture, but right now it's kind of showing some red brick, like a red glazed brick for this area, with some nice big windows in there. Some of the contrast with the different colors looking at for some of the additions, so it breaks up so you're not trying to match. If you look at some of the additions that have been done, it's hard to always match brick, the exact same brick from different generations of buildings. So throwing a little contrast with some change of colors for brick colors and stuff in some of these areas are options being looked at as well too. Coming around to the other side of the building on the back, this again is the mechanical space with the louver walls to block the mechanical unit that's up there. Come around kind of from the tennis courts, looking with a lot of natural light coming into that space. We looked at a lot of different options for ways to bring a natural light in there. And this was kind of the consensus of the team that had looked at it for ways to get a lot of natural light into this space. The north lot, or so looking in the lobby. So this is if you come in from the community entrance, looking down that corridor. Again, you can see all the windows. Right now, looking at going with like an open ceiling concept with some lighting and some sound panels and stuff up in the ceiling, but creating really a branding for this space has been kind of important. So incorporating some of the school colors and stuff into that. And then you can see the doors for the locker rooms would be there, and then the wet passage hallway would take you into the pool. So those drawings kind of give you, quick high level. Again, they're being further developed at this point. We're probably at the 30-40% set of drawings right now, but these kind of give you the quick overview of the design concepts that are moving forward with right now. Budget overview. So when we look at the budget for this, we are over budget at this point, and we are taking all those factors into account. The initial budget that we have for the natatorium and the weight room was about $9 million for construction. The pool schematic design estimate that we have from the construction manager right now is just over $10 million. The weight room estimate is about $900,000, and then the athletic lobby is about $150,000. So with those numbers, they are carrying about 6% for design contingency. Like I said, with all the assumptions and clarifications and things, the unknowns that we just don't have designed yet at this point. The construction manager is carrying a contingency in there. So based in their total numbers is about a 6% design contingency. So their total estimate right now is 11.1 million. So we're about almost 2.2 million over budget. So what are we doing with that, or what are our steps moving forward? Some of the goals are, and basically the charging orders that we have for the team, and this has been conveyed to, the architects, the construction managers, everybody that's working on this right now is, there are some key components for this that we need. The size of the natatorium addition needs to remain as is. The deck space, the seating capacity, those were all important factors that the committee had noted that we needed. So this could be a great product, a great space for the district to use for many years here, having competitions, all that. So deck space, seating, the size, all that is really a non-factor to reduce the size of that. So the team is working together to develop cost reduction ideas while maintaining design intent. One of the quick things we talked about was the brick. We were talking about having a bunch of metal panels on there, and we're looking at brick options. But we're doing that with every facet of every piece, and any idea that anybody has of ways to do that are being looked at. Some are immediately rejected that, hey, we're not going to sacrifice or change that. That's not an option that we look at. Some maybe will have bid alternates for bid protection that if we had to do something, have things identified. And, there are ideas that are being thrown out there that we're discussing that, are working for us on to help reduce that cost. So some of the other things we're doing is, budget allocations for flooring and painting. So in the bond program for the high school renovation, there's also, other work that we're doing. There is flooring replacements, there's painting, there's mechanical unit replacements. Some of those costs are kind of tied into this work when we're doing the athletic lobby space or we're doing, some of those areas. So there is cost that right now is not necessarily in the budget because we're just using it based on the pool budget that we have in the bond app. But there are other dollars that, if we're replacing flooring in the athletic lobby or painting the athletic lobby, there are dollars in the bond that can be allocated for that space that we could use for that. So we're looking at anywhere related to that. There's a boiler being replaced in Series 1 construction. We're looking at, do we upsize that boiler so it can maintain and handle the addition for that space, or do we replace that boiler and add boilers to the new addition? So, different options. Again, we're still exploring which way is the most cost-effective way, but there is $105,000 in the budget for replacing a boiler in Series 1. And down the road, all the boilers at the high school are going to get replaced. But, that budget for replacing that boiler, if we do have it incorporated with the pool, then that budget could be allocated towards the pool. So, again, anywhere that we can find ways, we are trying to do that. We do have cost savings from earlier bond projects, that could be allocated if we need to. The turf project, did come in under budget, approximately $130,000 under budget when we bid that out. So there is cost savings there that could be allocated if so choose to. The building signage project that will be presented to you later today for approval. We got those bids in and we're, $18,000 under budget there. So we would look to possibly do some of that. Also built into the bond program is we had cost escalation contingency set aside. This is a multi-series program over multiple years. We have a pretty healthy cost escalation contingency. And we also have an owner's contingency that's been allocated. So we could look at allocating some of those portions of those contingencies to this. So again, the ultimate goal is to reduce the cost to the original budget, but there are funds available to allocate to this project to maintain the original design integrity. So again, as I mentioned, the marching orders really are, there are certain key factors that this project has to maintain. We are going to maintain those, but the goal of the team is to take that $2 million overage and get that down as close as possible to the original budget. And that's what the team has been challenged with right now. And we will continue through the design process and update you guys accordingly as we get to each of the different stages, and with the hope of getting down to that, or having, if we don't get exactly down to it, being able to note exactly where some of those additional costs can be funded from and still allow us to complete the rest of the bond program projects that are called for in the bond program. So hopefully kind of explain that. If you guys have any questions that we can answer for you related to either, the schedule, the scope, or the budget, be happy to try to answer any questions you have.
Thanks for that presentation, Mr. Kukowski. We have one, Mr. Lamas, and then Dr. Paponio's next.
Doctor, go ahead.
Oh, I just have a quick question about the weight facility. Are there going to be any like breakout rooms where there can be classes held for like gym class, not gym, but like exercise classes through gym class and things like that? Because I know it's a big space, so I was just wondering.
The intent right now is not to have any specific separate rooms or anything, depending on how the final layout, which we just met with some of the staff earlier this week to start talking about layout and how the equipment will go, how much equipment's actually going to be coming into that space. We're going to start getting those quantities and try to lay that out. And if that allows for, certain spaces within there to be used, then, that is a possibility, but there's no set like rooms to be constructed for
Okay.
Specific use or anything. It'll be one basically large, wide open area.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Mr. Lamas, you're next, and then Mr. Sage.
Oh, thank you. You mentioned a team a number of times that are considering this and working on that. Who is this team?
So we have the architect is TMP is the architect, Mark McPartland that's on with us here now. And then the rest of his team, they have Peter Basso is the mechanical electrical engineer underneath them as well. And then Granger Construction is the construction manager for the bond program. So they have a handful of their staff that's involved as well too. So between ourselves, the district, TMP, and Granger Construction is the established bond team that's working on this right now.
If it's not appropriate through the chair, I'd like to have a listing of the teams that are working on these various parts of the project on these kind of updates. That way we know who's who and who's doing the work and who's responsible for what. I had a second question. You'd mentioned a couple times potential cost savings, or pardon me, using these cost savings from the turf project of the building signage. I presume that before we would decide to do anything like that, that request would be brought to the board, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we'd make, it'd be either a recommendation or a presentation that, here's where we're at with costs, and here's, how we would recommend or, suggest to fund those, and it'd come from this, and this, and show you guys what would be incorporated with that. Wouldn't just say we've, increased the budget X amount. We would show you where we'd be looking to fund those from.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks to the chair.
Thank you. Mr. Sage.
Hey, Rob. So I got quite a few questions, so just bear with me, please. One is the stands that are currently in the pool we're filling in to put the weight room. Are those stands remaining?
In the current pool area?
Well, you're saying we're filling the pool to create the weight room, correct?
Yes.
So stands that are currently in the pool area, are they staying or are they going?
They're going to stay.
Okay, so you're going to have stands looking down to the weight room per se.
Yep.
Okay.
They'll be all part of that space in there. Yes.
And you're saying that facility is a little over 5,000 square feet?
Yes.
Okay. Because I'm well versed as far as the equipment that we have and as what can fit where. As far as what about the wrestling room that's upstairs, or the existing weight room that used to be a wrestling room? What are we doing with that?
Basically nothing is planned to be done with that. So whether, all the equipment comes out of there and it becomes a storage room, or, equipment stays up there. I don't know what the long-term use of that space would be, but the intent right now in the bond program did not have, renovating that space up there.
Mr. Pastor had a comment to that, Mr. Sage.
I just wanted to make sure that so Rob's team is not part of the decision on what that will be used for, Sean. So it may go back to wrestling, and it really depends on how the building administration and athletic department decides to use it. There's nothing in stone at this point.
Okay. So from our side, from the team that's from the district, is there a committee that's formed currently with that? That's helping make these decisions?
For the weight room, Sean?
No, just in general. Or is the team, Rob, the group of individuals Rob have, and then the school is not giving direction to that? Or we are or we're not?
We are. So I'm sorry. So currently, the football coach and the gym teacher are looking at the equipment and what makes the most sense. The most important thing, and I'm sure that you could help them, Sean, is that they have to decide where the plug-in materials are going to go, right? So where do the treadmills go so that they can run the electrical and such for those projects?
Okay. And I don't want to try to be the negative Nancy in the room by any means, so I apologize if it's coming across the way. That's not it. This is going to be a great thing. With the Natatorium, and I understand there's only certain space on the site that we can do that. The Natatorium is technically facing the baseball field as well as the houses that are over there, correct? To some extent, the division.
I guess
Yeah.
It's their backyards. The only reason I bring that up is, as far as the signage, wouldn't that signage be better over the entrance to near the gymnasium? You get this beautiful STA. It's going to be facing a subdivision to some extent. Could that signage be placed over near the gymnasium? Because when you pull into the parking lot, that's going to be somewhat the entrance for the people to go into whether it be the weight room or a roundabout to the natatorium, correct? Or are they walking outside the building to entrance the natatorium?
I was kind of thinking that too.
Yeah, and this, I would say this is probably more just a placeholder right now. I mean, we talked in some of our preliminary meetings, would you want it here so you could see it from all the athletic, from the baseball field and the athletics that way, or, would you want it out front? We did have some of those discussions. This isn't a final set in stone space or where this would go. So there had been some discussions about possibly putting it, oops, sorry about that, on the other face as well too. So,
okay.
And
that's
not a final. That's not like been a final set in stone location where that's going.
Because for branding, we talk about branding. We put our name out there. Our signage on, what is that, Leroy, over by the church. I drove by it last night. You can't see it, and I know the digital sign out front is down currently, but the STA out front there you don't see, and then near the gymnasium there's not much signage. I'd rather brand. If we're going to brand, I'd like to see it where people can see what they're seeing, not behind the building. And that's only I'm an opinion of one. That's why I didn't know where the direction was coming from the district, but that's my opinion. If we're going to brand ourselves, we need to be where people can see it.
I 100% agree.
Amen. I agree.
And I guess the last question I have is, a typical natatorium holds how many? Like, what does Woodhaven hold right now?
I don't know that offhand. I can look that up to find out. For some reason, I wanted to say they were in the 400 to 500 range, but I would be guessing. Some of them we looked at. I mean, when we went and toured, we seen them from. What's that?
I think it was less. I think they were closer to like 250 or 300.
Well, inside theirs is kind of different. Like inside the natatorium, they have small seating. They only have probably 100 and some inside, but then they have some bleachers up behind the glass that pull out, and then they have an observation deck. So theirs is, I don't know what their final is, but when we walked 3 or 4 different pools, and I would say the seating range from 200 to about 500 was kind of the range we were looking at some of the pool areas.
Okay, so we're good for all the number of people that we'd be able to host. Okay.
Yeah, the key was 400 to 500 was the number we were trying to hit for that mark. I mean, so that was a big key, was to stay above 400, and we were even trying to get closer to 500 if we could, but we were we're at like 414 plus some handicap seating. So
if you go over 500, you get into. If you go over 500, you get into different situations with exits, and it's a capacity that triggers all kinds of other things in the building. Right. So you generally want to try and stay under that.
No, we got one time to get this right, and that's the only reason I'm passionate about it.
Yeah.
We got one shot, So thank you.
And that has been a big push, just to piggyback off what you said, Sean, about the passion for this, and you have one time to get it right. That has been a big push when we're looking at this, and some of the ideas that have been thrown out for, how do we get back to the original budget? And there are certain things that we know the district will not sacrifice on, and that's why we would, we want to start looking at the avenues of what, if we absolutely have to, increase the budget, where can we do that from? And what could we do that to maintain and get the certain key components that you have, versus just saying, the easiest thing to do is make the building smaller. Construction is a square foot cost per se. So, you could make it smaller, and that right there, not change anything, but brings the cost down just by, making it a smaller building. But we know that is not the long-term needs of the district and what the space and goal of the space use is. So that is a big component that we are keeping in the back of our minds when we're looking at that and tasking everyone with coming up with ideas and solutions for doing that.
Thank you.
Through the
Thank
chair,
you.
I don't
Go
want
ahead,
to step on anyone else. Does anyone else have a question? I don't want to step on them. So Rob, speaking of this, we have one chance to get this right. I meant to ask earlier, have we had an interview with or a walkthrough with one of the other swim coaches and athletic directors that have recently built something like this, so we can hear from them? Boy, we really wish we had done it differently, or boy, we did that too, and it was one of the biggest mistakes we did, or yeah, that's what we did and we love it. So we get someone who's in that business, in the swimming business, if you would, and the athletic director to comment on it, that have had to live in their own space and figured out what they did right and wrong. Have we done that?
We did a little bit on our tours when we toured 3 or 4 different facilities early on when we were looking at the different shapes of pools and options of pools. You know, one of them, we had the swim coach that was there, gave feedback. So we had different people that were there and really provide the feedback on top of, you know, TMP with their staff that they have designing this pool. That's, you know, the designers that, you know, focus mainly on the pools. And then, you know, with Granger, they've worked on some recent pools together as well too. So yeah, we haven't necessarily called up a superintendent or an athletic director to specifically ask that, but we did talk with people during our site walks when we had everybody walking the 4 different schools that we looked at.
Well, if as a suggestion, and I'm not trying to be negative Nancy either, but that now that we're getting down to brass tacks with this, that may not be a bad idea, and it would cost zero. And in the spirit of partnership with these other schools, I can't imagine they would say no to that help, if that's possible to do. And if we need to take action to do that, let me know. I'll be happy to figure out a way to do that. But if you can, you know, if you can make sure that happens, that'd be great too. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. Do we have any other comments or questions? All right, thank you, Mr. Kukowski. Appreciate your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to item G. This is our consent agenda, which consists of the HR update, disbursements for November 2020.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you, Dr. Pomponio. We have a support.
Support.
Support by Mr. Craig. Any questions or comments? All right, I'll call the question, please.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Lamos,
Sorry, yes.
Dr. Pomponio,
Yes.
Mr. Sage,
Yes.
Mr. Craig,
Yes.
Mr. Estheimer,
Yes.
Mr. Freitas.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Motion carries. Takes us to item H, which is our actionable items. We have 6 tonight. We'll start with item 1, the approval of the mode of instruction. Who'll be presenting tonight? Do we have a presentation, or are we just going right to the motion?
No presentation.
Thank you. All right.
All right. Senate Bill 0927 was signed by Governor Whitner on September 20th, 2020, and assigned PA 0165 on October 1st of 2020, effective immediately. Section 98A of the law modifies the requirements of the district or PSA extended COVID-19 learning plans required in Public Act 149. Assurance number 8 says that 30 days after the approval of the plan under subsection 2 and each month thereafter, the district must at a meeting of the board reconfirm how instruction is going to be delivered during the 2021 school year. Tonight, the board will vote to satisfy this requirement.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion if I can.
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the Southgate Community School mode of instruction to be fully remote through Friday, January 22nd, 2021, end of the first semester.
Support.
Dr. Pomponio. Do we have a support?
Support.
Mr. Craig. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, I'll please call the vote.
Mr. Lamos,
Yes.
Dr. Pomponio,
Yes.
Mr. Sage,
Yes.
Mr. Craig,
Yes.
Mr. Estheimer,
Yes.
Mr. Freitas,
Yes.
Mr. Green.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, that action is approved. We'll move on to item number 2, approval of the district metric.
All right, the COLT leadership team presented the suggested metric at our last meeting. The recommendation is to return to the district's approved hybrid in-person model when positive test rate is below 5% for 14 consecutive days, using data from the COVID Act Now website and the 14-day rolling average spreadsheet. It is our recommendation that when community spread in Wayne County is below 5% per John Hopkins and the World Health Organization for 14 consecutive days, according to the positive test rate, Southgate Community School District will announce a return date within 2 business days for in-person learning. Our goal would be to begin the following Monday. When the 14-day average is above 5%, all students attending in-person instruction will shift to remote instruction as announced by the superintendent. When the community spread is below 5% for 14 consecutive days, all students attending remote learning will return to hybrid in-person instruction as announced by the superintendent. If there is a situation where the infection rate is under 1 and the daily new cases are below 5 per 100,000, that would be an indicator for a safe return as well.
Thank you very much. Would somebody like to make that motion? Or do we have questions for staff? Pardon me. Questions for staff?
I have a question.
Yes, Mr. Craig.
So just like we kind of talked about, Jill, this is to more or less take the arbitrary nature of staying, going remote or being in person or whatever. This is giving us a number that we follow. And so it's not arbitrary, correct?
It's correct. It would sort of put this science behind the decision.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Mr. Lamas?
So the metrics that are used here are not specific to the school population. It's a broader measurement, so it doesn't really specifically address teacher population and student population. And unless I'm wrong, if I'm wrong, please tell me. Right? It's a more generic set of metrics. Correct? Is that right, Jill?
That's correct. It would include the positive cases of those staff and students that live in Wayne County.
Got it. And then just a question: the last couple of days, both Fauci and President-elect Biden have made it really clear that getting back to schools ASAP is number one for both of them. How would we consider what they're saying? Should we, number one, consider what they're saying, number one, and number two, if we should, how should we integrate it into our thinking here?
So the Board of Education still has to discuss a mode of instruction every month. And what I would say is if President-elect Biden or Fauci has a different metric or a different science behind their suggestion on how to determine when it's safe to return, then I'm sure this board would be willing and the superintendent would be promoting, helping you all for that metric to understand.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Sage.
One question, and if if this is off topic, please let me know. In regard to our reporting currently that we're doing, whether it be from the teacher standpoint, and we're saying that we have a case, if somebody's at home working remotely, and they are we reporting that as school-based positive?
So we do have new rules from the Wayne County Health Department that if they are currently at home and they have not been in a building within the time that they were contagious, then we don't have to report them. So the dashboards have all been updated, and I'll be sharing that updated dashboard with all of you this week.
Thank you, Mr. Sage. Anybody else have any comments or questions? Mr. Green. Oh, all right. All right.
I'd like
Seeing
to
none-
make a motion. Sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Dr. Pomponio.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the Southgate Community School metric as presented.
Do we have a second for that motion?
Support.
Supported by Mr. Craig. All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, please call the question, Ms. Krahowski.
Dr. Pomponio,
Yes.
Mr. Sage,
Yes.
Mr. Craig,
Yes.
Mr. Estheimer,
All right, did everybody, did you hear me?
No.
no.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Freitas,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Lamos,
Respectfully, no.
All right, do we have everybody? Thank you. Motion carries. If it pleases the board, I did have a board member that had his hand up during G consent, and I know this is inappropriate, but if it pleases the board, there was a question. It was my fault that I missed it. And it won't impact the vote, but there was a question by Mr. Sage under the consent agenda. Do you wish to ask that now, or did you want to ask that question at the end? It's up to you.
Oh, either way, it doesn't matter. I just had one question about the disbursements.
Is that okay? Go ahead.
So just looking at some of the disbursements with the construction trades, is the construction trades currently in school or no?
They're not. They're virtual.
So are we paying for dumpsters that are just sitting there? We're paying a rental fee, or what are we doing with that?
I can speak to that. The dumpsters were necessary because of all of the debris that was left from last school year. And they had to tear down, I believe they built some houses, and all of that had to be torn down. So it was necessary to rent. I think they call it a roll-off dumpster.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
they.
All right. So it's not just sitting there, we're paying a monthly fee for something that we're not using. We used it.
Correct. And that was intended to be a one-time DCTC. The Downriver Consortium did provide the construction trades program with a smaller dumpster that they can transport to, I think it's called the Riverview. It's not called the dump, but it's basically a dump where they're going to haul things over there, but it's much smaller than the roll-off that we paid for in November.
Okay. Thank you. And with my personal work, we were paying for something that we were never using when we were closed, and we were reimbursed for that. So I just wanted to bring that up. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Sage, and sorry I missed that, and thanks to everybody for allowing that. We'll go back to action item 3 now, approval of the 2020 general fund amended budget.
Okay, I would like to try to present this for those who are viewing. Let's see. All right, are you able to see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So this is just the proposed amended budget for the general operating fund only, as we had done in the past when our superintendent was retiring. So we wanted to get an update based on the parameters that are in place now compared to the June original budget. And for those who are at home, the assumptions are on this page. Are there any questions on the assumptions at this point?
Does not appear so.
All right. Then I'm going to just move to the page here. So I have updated the actual audited to the 1920 audited figures in the first column of figures. And then the original budget is exactly the same as you all approved in June, except down at the bottom, the prior year fund balance has been updated from my projection. We actually came out about $243,000 better than I had projected. So that slightly increased from the 76,000 I had originally stated would be projected to be carried over to 320,000, which again, in this amended budget, we're starting off with the 3,251,561, which is our actual fund balance at July 1. And you can see we have a nice balance here to be able to absorb some of this money that we're projecting to lose at this point. And again, based on the assumptions, we do have stated a net loss of students of 217.64 pupils, which is 267.64 down, and then added in is the 23A projection of 50, making it a net of the 217.64. In that bullet point where it speaks to pupil count, the super blend is what the state is using this year, which is 75% of 2019 and 25% of 2020. So that helps us out this year with only a net loss of 137. So we actually ended up a little bit better there. We did not have any change to the foundation. They did not cut it, as was projected back in June, of $652 per pupil. But I do want you to be aware that there's still talks that may happen sometime in the 2021 school year. I did not budget for that at this point because we need to get further information from my sources about what they may end up doing. Any questions?
Any board member questions? I see none, Barb. Thank you. All right, bring us back here to the table for action item number 3.
Through the chair, I make a motion to approve the 2020-2021 amended general operating fund budget as proposed.
Thank you, Mr. Lawrence. Supported by Dr. Pomponio. Further discussion? All right, Ms. Grahowski, will you please call the vote?
Mr. Sage,
Yes.
Mr. Craig,
Yes.
Mr. Estheimer,
Yes.
Mr. Freitas,
Yes.
Mr. Green.
Yeah.
Mr. Ramos,
Yes.
Dr. Pomponio.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Motion carries. We are skipping item 4 that was edited out of our agenda, and we're going to item 5. This is a bond contract award recommendation for Anderson exterior signage. Who will be presenting this? Ms. Pastor.
Enclosed with this action item is a recommendation letter from Plant Moran Cressa and a summary of the official RFP details. In summary, the project team is recommending LaVanway Sign Company Incorporated for the Anderson exterior signage.
Thank you, Ms. Pastor. Do we have questions for Ms. Pastor?
Excuse me. Do we have any photos of what that's going to look like or where that's going to be placed?
So it's going to be a replacement of the 2 signs that are currently not working at Anderson. So the one there facing the corner, and then the electronic sign that used to be on the side entrance there at Anderson.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none, I'll accept the motion for this action item number 5.
I thought I heard Sean.
Go ahead, Sean.
Oh,
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. I make a motion authorizing the superintendent, subject to the review and approval of the school district council, to award the Anderson exterior signage to Lavon Way Sign Company, Inc., not to exceed $53,000.
Thank you. And we have a second?
Support.
Supported by, who is that, Mr. Craig? Or Mr. Sage? It's so hard to tell on this screen, so speak up.
Keep leaving me out. It's Mr. Sage. It's fine. I'm messing.
All right, Mr. Sage. Any further discussion? All right, please call the question, Ms. Grahowski.
Mr. Estheimer,
Yes.
Mr. Freitas,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Lamos,
Yes.
Dr. Pomponio,
yes.
Mr. Stage.
Yeah.
Mr. Craig.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Moving on to action item number 6. This is the contract award recommendation for commissioning services. Ms. Pastor?
Enclosed with this action item is a recommendation letter from Plant Moran Cressa and a summary of the official RFP details. In summary, the project team is recommending IMEG Corp. For commissioning services for Series 1 of the 2020 Southgate Bond Program projects.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Pastor?
I have one, just I mean, it's such an enormous price difference between they and the top, the most expensive bidder. Are we comfortable with this organization? I suspect you are if you brought it to the meeting, but just had to ask the question.
I can answer that. I mean, yes, we are. There was concern initially, with them, but in talking with them on the scope, part of it is IMEG is a really large national firm, and their goal really is right now they're looking at this market in Michigan to get into. So they aggressively went after this project as well. They do commissioning all over the country, and Michigan is a market that they're really focusing on right now. So they went aggressively after this project, and we scoped them out, and they see their scope of work was comparable to the others. So we felt comfortable with them.
Yeah, no kidding.
Also
That's great.
done.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr. Lamas. Any other questions for staff for Mr. Grahowski? Seeing none, I'll accept the motion for action item number 6.
I'd like to make a motion.
I'm sorry, Mr.
Go
Green.
ahead, Rick.
I think it was Green.
Oh, Andy, go ahead.
Okay. Tim's ignored me all night. Hurts my reindeer nose. Just kidding. Mr. President, I would like to make a motion authorizing the superintendent, subject to the review and approval of the school district council, to award the IMEG Corporation for commissioning services not to exceed $41,900 as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Green. We have a second to that motion?
Support.
Supported by Dr. Pomponio. Any further discussion? All right, Ms. Grahowski, will you please call the vote?
Mr. Freitas,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Lamos,
Yes.
Dr. Pomponio,
Yes.
Mr. Stage,
Yes.
Mr. Craig,
Yes.
Mr. Estheimer.
Yes. Thank you. Motion carries. And our last action item of the night is a contract award recommendation for asbestos inspection. Ms. Pastor?
Enclosed with this action item is a recommendation letter from Plant Moran Cressa. In summary, the project team is recommending Arch Environmental Group for Series 1 of the 2020 Southgate Bond Program projects.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? Seeing none, would someone like to make a
I'd like to make a motion authorizing the superintendent, subject to the review and approval of the South School District Council, to award the asbestos inspection not to exceed $27,200 as presented.
Thank you, Dr. Pomponio. Do we have a second to that motion?
Support.
Supported by Mr. Craig. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Groskowski, please call the question.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Lamos,
Yes.
Dr. Pomponio,
Yes.
Mr. Sage,
Yes.
Mr. Craig,
Yes.
Mr. Estheimer,
Yes.
Mr. Freitas.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Motion carries. Moving on to item I, employee representatives. Do we have any employee representatives that wish to speak tonight? Ms. Pastor, anybody? Okay.
No.
All right, we'll move down to item J, information and announcements, and I'll open it up to the board first.
Mr. President?
Dr. Pomponio.
Okay, I have a couple things. First one to Mr. Jason Martin. It's been a pleasure to work with you over the years. I appreciate you and the dedication to this district. Have a great retirement, and you will always be a Titan here. Thank you for your service again. And then the second thing, happy holidays to all of our staff, students, and parents. Have a safe and healthy holiday. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pomponio. Anybody else wish to speak tonight? Mr. Green.
Thank you, Mr. President. I got a few items. Number one, I would also like to wish Mr. Martin well wishes in his retirement and all the years. There's another person who spent his entire career in Southgate and gave his, all to this community. So I wish him the best in his retirement. Secondly, I need to thank my man, Mr. Craig, for bringing me venison today. I just want to make that noted. And I also want to say that I think Mr. Rick made a great point last week when we had a pretty strong discussion about things that it was probably healthy, but I still think that it's important to understand that for the most part, we're all in it together and we get along. I think it's a great character to some of my friends on the board, Mr. Craig. I think I owe him an apology. He apologized to me when we talked earlier, and I think it's just important to know that we're all that we get along. And I think every one of us, at least I have. I know I've talked to Sean, Rick, Neil. I think I talked to everybody this week about something, or we at least even at one or two words. So just like the community to know that we're all in it for the right reasons. On that note, I do want to address the citizen comment briefly. The citizen comment wanted to know why we don't have Zoom. We did try that, and a lot of school boards tried that. And the problem with the Zoom and the Googles, when you have 100 people or 50 people even, you can't mute everyone, because if you do, you're muting the board. And then if somebody is inappropriate, and I'm not saying it would happen, but it has happened. It happened in other boards. And you have one person who's trying to find where that mute button is. And we did have an issue, and I don't think it was done with malice, where this, with the Zoom call, where somebody just jumped into the meeting and started participating and talking, and the chat room can get out of control. Well, if we were live and in a regular board, citizens have a point for citizens' comments, but they can't interrupt the board as they're doing business. It's just not something that's feasible. That's why on the form online you have, a way to make a citizen comment. And I know we either research them or and we don't comment on them a lot, but I think sometimes it's important to answer those questions so you know where we're coming from. So that's the reason we don't have live discussions and chats in a Zoom meeting. And most boards are not doing it that way also, by the way. I want to wish everybody in this community a happy holiday, whatever your religious preference is, what your belief system is, to enjoy the holidays, have safe holidays. And, I think we always say that in a blessed holiday, but I think it's even more important in this crazy year. And I am going to end once again where we started maybe an hour ago. We got presents too. So from Miss Pastor, this wonderful binder, I look like Tim now. Now I have a binder that I can, break things down, because I'm the one who has my papers all over the place and filter all over here. And so this was just, and if you can see it, we got our names on them. I mean, that's just, absolutely outstanding. And I've held it to myself or I told it pretty good in the first presentation, but I can't reiterate enough what kind of respect and love this community has, and what kind of respect and dare I say love I have for Miss Pastor in her travels with Doug. She's just an amazing person. She's amazing to work with, and she's just a treasure of this community, and that's just the bottom line. So thank you very much, Mr. Esmer.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Anybody else? I will. I have just a few comments. Thank you, Andy. I was going to mention something about the citizen comments. Those are exactly what they are described as. They're comments. So when we get to that and your comment is read, it's not appropriate for the board to answer comments directly as we speak as one voice as a board. So what happens is we'll either try to answer them at the end. This is our time that we can talk. This is our portion of the meeting where we can talk freely. So that's usually when we can attempt to answer something if it's a yes, no, easy kind of a situation. But oftentimes when you have a comment, it gets referred back to the superintendent or a curriculum instructor or as a member of administration, and they will reach out to you separately if it's something that is of that scale. But don't think that we're ignoring them. We read them, we're all listening, we acknowledge it, and then we move on. We just can't, it isn't appropriate all the time to answer those specific questions, but Andy did it brilliantly, and I appreciate that. And as far as retirements go, yeah, we do have another person retiring, and I also want to wish Mr. Martin hearty congratulations on his retirement. And once again, Ms. Pastor, congratulations on your retirement. And then lastly, I'd like to say happy holidays, and we won't be meeting again until next year unless something comes up where we need to. We're always available. If you need us, reach out to us. But with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
That was Mr. Lamas?
Yes.
All right. Do we have a second?
Support.
Mr. Craig, any discussion? So got some green discussion.
Joe, any last words? We love you.
We love you.
Good night. Thank you. Woohoo!
All right. Thank you. Please roll call, vote us out, Ms. Krahowski.
Mr. Lamos,
Yes.
Dr. Pomponio,
I'm gonna miss you, Jill. Yes.
Mr. Sage,
Sorry, yes.
Mr. Craig,
Yes.
Mr. Estheimer,
Yes.
Mr. Freitas,
Yes.
Mr. Green.
Just for Jill? No.
All right. We are now adjourned. Good night, everybody.
Good night.